Urgent real-time big picture analysis. This is big and we are super, super bullish. You see why? I'm showing you all my lines. These are actually secret lines, but now that artificial intelligence is so advanced, I can show you some of my secret lines and nothing will happen. So, except you'll get rich. You see this? We're gonna go up. You see this? We're gonna go up. Why do I say we're gonna go up? Let's analyze this one at a time. Let's zoom in here first, okay? You see these, and my face right now is really, really fat because I'm laying down, looking upwards at the ceiling where my monitors are mounted. This is supine zero gravity monitorization. It's the most awesome thing in the world. I can work for 15 hours a day without getting lower back pain. Anyway, you see this V here? This is a broadening wedge. Whenever there's a broadening wedge, there's an explosion either downwards or explosion upwards. How do you tell which way it's going to go? The rule is pretty simple. 85% of the time, if the broadening wedge happens at the bottom of a formation, it goes up. If the broadening wedge happens at the top of a formation, which it didn't in this case, there's no V here, but there's a V here at the bottom. You see, it went up and then went down and then V'd. If you go down and then V, then you go back up. So that's the immediate short-term view. But let's zoom out to see what the bigger picture is. So you're gonna have to start paying attention and start, even if you don't leverage trade with me, which you should, because you can make 150,000 million times more money. Let's zoom out, because even if you only do spot trading, you're gonna make a ton of money. I'll show you why. Okay, so there was our V, and we zoom out, and what do we have here? We have, voila, a perfect ABCD pattern. This is a harmonic pattern that normally, when you hit top, there's always a little bit of an extension beyond it to liquidate everybody else that thinks, hey, I found an ABCD pattern, it's gonna dump. Yes, you're right, but only after you get liquidated. So it goes up one more time here, as you can see right there, and then it dumps. But where does it dump to? Because where it dumps to would be the bottom. You actually have two dump targets from the top to this point. You either dump to the 618, which would be this line, or you dump underneath this this vertice right to about here. The one more fib line underneath, which I didn't draw, but it'd be right about here is where you dump to. You'd either dump about a thumb's width above this vertice, or a thumb's width under the vertices. Normally where you dump to, but in this case, what had happened is that we stopped and we got rejected off the 0.5. So this is super, super bullish. It's not even hitting target. Normally, you would expect this to go dump down lower and then go up, but we've already formed a V. Could we dump one more time and then still hit this target and make a bigger V? It would take a long time to do it, and I don't think we're going to do that. But why? To answer that question, we have to zoom out even more. So here we were, and now we're zooming out even more. Now you see why? Well, actually, you might not be able to because of my fat, bloated face. By the way, all of you guys look this way when you're laying down for 15 hours in a row. All the blood rushes to your face and your face gets all smudged. So, anyway, this is what we have right now. This is what we've got. It's obvious that we're getting, we're gonna get kicked up. Yeah, do you see it? Do you not see it yet? I'll explain it to you. I'm going to turn, what are these arcs here? I'm going to turn these arcs into something black so you can see it better. Actually, just thicker is fine. Thicker red arcs. You notice how these arcs perfectly, this was a perfect parabola. All we had to do is catch this earlier and we'd know, hey, eventually we would hit this line again. So we long here, we short here, long here, short here. You see, perfect absolute touches. It's the weirdest thing. You could do 1,000x shorts on this red line and you would have made insane amounts of money. We hit some of these things, but I didn't see this arc until a little later, a little bit too late, in fact. So, but anyway, there's other ways to find these points as to where to short, but this arc would have been the easiest. Then there's this other bigger arc that goes and touches these other points and gets cut off and cut off and cut off. Tons of wicks over here. I'll explain that later at some other point. Nah, maybe I won't. But anyway, you see why we're just going to keep going up? What does this look like to you? What does this look like to you? Whenever there's a parabola, have you ever noticed that even in Bitcoin, when Bitcoin goes upward, my hand doesn't turn that way, goes up, man, my hand really doesn't turn that way. Whenever a parabola goes up, parabolas are over everything. In other words, a parabola that gets that happens while it's going up is normally an overreaction of buying. It's overbought. A parabola that goes downward is an overreaction of selling. So it's oversold. These are super, super oversold. And you know what happens when the parabola unfurls, unwinds? Look at what happens. Doesn't this look like a stop motion animation of a cartoon character kicking someone's ass? Like if this was, I don't know, if this was Tom, this would be Jerry. Or no, this would be Jerry. And this is Tom over here. Jerry is kicking, pew, 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 kicking the price upwards. You see how that works? Maybe this is getting a little innuendoed. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. But this arc, as it unfurls and accelerates. And it's the same thing with parabolas on shitcoins, on DEX tools. If you find shitcoins that just went parabolically up, what ends up happening is when it starts unfurling, it unfurls, and then doof, does a nosedive. This thing is unfurling, and then it's just going to go, pow! It really is just going to explode. So, but how high? And are you sure? To answer those questions, we have to zoom out even more. Okay, zooming out even more. What do you see here? This is an actual perfect inverse head and shoulders. Perfect inverse head and shoulders. When you got rejected up here, you should have just dropped already. How fast should you have dropped? Really, really fast. But we didn't, did we? We just kept climbing the underside of this, which is really weird. It's really weird to climb the underside of an ascending channel because that would create a rising wedge, which is normally bearish. Rising wedges, if a triangle goes up, is normally bearish, except this thing is forming a rising wedge under a really, really big head and shoulders. But this isn't the perfect head and shoulders, though. This shows a lack of selling pressure because the shoulder is too small. Normally, a head and shoulder, this shoulder would be bigger, and the head would be bigger. So that means that this is very temporary and limited rejection. This is very temporary and limited. Man, but there's more to this. Anyway, I'll stop here because I got to close a trade right now. But what this means is that we should have dumped already, but we didn't, and we're climbing. But if you notice the way we're climbing, we actually don't have a perfect wedge. If we had a perfect rising wedge, I would think that we were forming a bear flag, and then we're going to do another leg down. Except we actually have lift here, which I don't have time to zoom back in because I got to close along.